visibility is everything to African Americans. Right here in Beaver County, we make up 6%. That's a very small number when you think about the population. Most people do not even have to interact with any African American on a daily basis if they do not want to, right? But the one thing, here's the difference. I always have to be able to interact with white people. Mm-hmm. So the visibility is very important when it comes to African Americans. Man, it's like breathing to us, to be seen by people, and it may seem so small to some people. It's like, well, what does that matter? You want to be, it means a lot. It means everything to 401 years, especially August 30th, will be 401 years since the first 50 slaves touched ground in Point Comfort, which is known now as Virginia, in 1619. That was 401 years ago. That means everything to us because we have never been seen. So that's how we've been operating for many centuries. And now the importance of, yes, we want to be seen. And I believe George Floyd's unfortunate demise has allowed us to be seen by some people now.
I remember scrolling through my phone, and when I seen it, I was just like, I hated to say it, but I was like, well, another brother. You know what I mean? That's how I felt. It was just like, damn, like another one. And you automatically go in and say, they're going to get off. No one's going to get in trouble for this. And it sucks. When I did see that, and of course the video went viral, you can watch it 1,000 times, and it's horrific.
I was on edge for I would say probably 90 days. On edge, just looking around. That's the only thing I think really, really, really hit home with me is when he kept calling for his mom or he would help me, screaming help, and people standing there and, I don't know. I know what keeps me up at night. I know what keeps me up at night. Because them little devices in your hand brought real life to you right now.
I think the biggest thing that it did is it started the conversation in a more meaningful way because there was video. And so anybody that was helping people understand that we've got some serious issues in our communities related to, I don't even think it's unconscious bias, but it's whatever it is, it emanates from a practice. If our experiences have within it diversity, or recognition that people are different, then you can be more likely to develop that disposition of acceptance and cultural competency. But if it doesn't, and that practice occurs over and over and over, you're less likely to even see those differences because it's out of your experience.
I grew up a white female. Oh, the police, I can trust the police. And so that was a really big wake up that George Floyd was not isolated. There were so many.
It is exhausting because every time I scroll, that's all I see is brown people getting the lights beat out of them every time. And it's a horror movie. I think of George Floyd. I think of lack of empathy. I think of lack of dignity. It's humanity. Like, come on, there's so many things that come to my mind when I think of George.
It was so graphic. It was so horrible. I think it was undeniably awful and really pointed to a sickness in our soul. And I think that for many people, not all people, but for many people, it just couldn't help not respond.
People were upset. I mean, we were furious. And not to even, things like that happen in the community. Like, okay, they probably haven't killed anyone yet, but you'll get the brakes beat off you. You'll get choked up and yoked up. Yeah, they do that. And it was just like, nah, like, we're not about to do that. I think me and the girls might have got together and we spoke about it, and people were on Facebook talking about a protest. And I'm like, let's do one. Let's do a protest. People were like, if you do it, I'll do it. And it became literally a domino effect.
And setting it up, like, don't think like everything was easy going. There was arguments, there was a little bit of yelling, there was all that. And I dealt with all of it, but everybody came together. I mean, everybody didn't want to give us everything we wanted. They ended up doing it, but they didn't want to. But it's not about they didn't want to in a bad way. They just thought it was going to be not safe. I didn't sleep the night before. I didn't think it was going to be safe. I was like, somebody's going to riot. If the police going to get called, are the police even on our side? You ask those questions.
And I do remember, I don't know which officer it was, but he did reach out to me on Facebook, and very pleasant. He was just like, hey, let us assist you so it can go right. The process is fine. If you want to do it, you can do it. Let us help you. Because now you're backed up by the police. You know what I mean? You feel like, okay, they see you, they hear you, and they want to be a part of a movement.
I had just lost the election. It was 2020. I was real sad, down on myself a little bit. And I don't remember if it started at like 12 or 1 or whatever it started at, but I know I was there like an hour early. And that whole hour felt so slow. I just remember like going to it like, oh, no one's going to show up.
What made people want to come to Beaver Falls and march or protest? Like, what was it?
I will say 2 different answers. I think for white people, it definitely was to show support and to stand with us. But I will say for black people, it was essential that we was there. And I knew that me going there was deeper than just me just going there. I knew for me, I had to go there to fight with my brothers and sisters. So it wasn't just me going just to protest. Like, I went there because like I knew that like we need each other.
I still can close my eyes and see people standing around that makeshift little stand-up podium where everybody was standing at, and the people behind you, people to the left and right of you smiling, throwing their fist in the air, believing like change was coming.
Everybody standing here today, I can see your passion. I can read your shirts. I can read your signs. They are powerful. Today we make history in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, 15010. Let's represent.
I'm talking to Peggy Evans. If you know Peggy Evans, she's a fireball. And we're talking. And I look up, I'm like, I think I whisper, I'm like, Peggy, where'd all these people come from? And she just looked at me big-eyed and said, I don't know.
I'd never seen the community come together that much, but I did that day. It felt empowering. I felt strength because it was big. That might have been the biggest you've seen it. And at that moment, I was thinking like, okay, so if we can do this, we can do a lot. If we can come together for this, we can come together for bigger things. And I felt like that was like a pivotal moment to see the community come together as one. I almost felt like there was nothing that I couldn't do. And I was proud to be Black that day. I was happy to be a sister, you know?
I sat in the car outside of there for a minute before I even got out the car. I was that nervous because I saw that crowd go from a small pocket to like a massive. And I was like, wow. What am I going to say to these people? I got out the car. I was praying the whole time. Let my meditation in my heart and the words of my mouth be acceptable in thy sight, my word and my redeemer. Father, hide me behind the veil. This is holy ground. This is where you place me this moment. And then I walked on that thing and she said, you ready? And I said, yeah.
When he sat there for 8 minutes and called for his mother, I only couldn't imagine what my mother would have done. I only couldn't imagine what my father would have done. I only would imagine what my city would have done. You gotta love something in this life for it to change. You gotta love it enough to change. You can't just keep sitting around talking about it. But I run from nothing. I run headlong into it because I can't affect change sitting on the sidelines. You can't affect change just talking about it. If you want to make it biblical, faith without works is dead. If you want to make it biblical, faith without works is dead. So yes, you can pray for a thing, but if you ain't got no work behind it, how's it going to move? How's it going to move? Look, small things happen that make big things happen. Right now you remember. Right now you bring it to your memory. What happens a week from now, a month from now, years from now? Do you remember this day? Do you remember this moment? Don't let the main thing be forgotten. The main thing is Mr. Floyd died, and he's not the only one. So I'm gonna leave you with this, man. Small things make big things happen. Remember these moments right here. A week from now, a month from now, a year from now, remember this moment. Don't let the main thing be forgotten. The main thing is Mr. Floyd died, and he said he's not the only one. But guess what? If that's gonna catapult us to greatness, to change, let's ride it then. Thank y'all.
It was just a beautiful thing to see, like, so many people come together. You know, so many people be on the same page about what happened. I mean, everybody came out that day. Old, black, white, veterans, cops, police, everybody all walking through the crowd. You know, some of them had jobs to do, but some of them were in that moment, unapologetic.
And then we walked up the little hill to the main avenue, 7th Avenue, made that right, and then we just kept walking down. I've been driving that road my whole life, but to actually walk down that road with brothers and sisters arm in arm and just seeing, like I said, it's everybody that I knew. Walking down the same street that we all walked down was just crazy. And it was beautiful too, seeing not only the people that I grew up with, but also seeing people who just moved to Beaver Falls, also who I just met. Even in this picture right here, like I know everybody in this picture right here, right? I care about everybody in this picture, and everybody in this picture care about me.
There is that connection. There's this long-term knowing each other that becomes part of this bigger story together. I think we think if the bigger places, the bigger metropolises don't do it, then we really don't have a chance, because they're going to make a big impact, like an Occupy Wall Street or something is going to make a big impact so much faster than a little Beaver Falls. But I think what's happening in those smaller protests is that it's not as big of a group, but I think the actual accountability and the follow-up is going to be greater because you know those people and you're going to see them and you're building relationships and long-term commitments over those things. And I think that does shift the culture in a way that has more accountability. I think it has potential for a lot more power than we think it does.
Hands up! Don't shoot! Hands up! Don't shoot! In order for that to actually work, we have to take part in our community. We each have a responsibility. Small and big, they are all important. This does not stop today. This is a beautiful thing, and I've been marching in Beaver County for a long time. This is the biggest crowd I've ever. Let's go! We can talk to each other. We can listen to each other. Let's keep those conversations going. Let's keep talking to each other. Keep asking questions. Keep being receptive to those questions. Keep being respectful to each other in those conversations. Keep them going. Not only that, take part in everything that you're interested in. Because your interests are your gifts, and your gifts are important to this community. And we need your gifts. Each and every one of you. Be a coach. Be a mentor. Be a leader. Join the police academy. We need the police officers. There we go. All right, everybody. On the way back to the cannon, we're going to walk back in silence. I want to see everybody's hands up like this.
Everybody's hands up like this in silence.
In silence.
There's a picture. It's me, Peggy, Sana, Elise, a couple other young women, and we were like standing in the middle of the road with the fist up. It was just nice to see, like, yeah, sisters like really standing, firm, and we're all moving, and no one's hating on the next. And that's what comes to mind when I think of that day. That moment was that picture with us standing on 7th Avenue with the fist up and just like, we had enough.
On the route of the George Floyd protest was this, we called it the weeping wall, that was right in the center of town. And we painted it all kind of a mournful color. I think it's like a dark brown. I just have this very visual memory of people pulling out of the march on the wall and then entering back in. It just felt very much like a natural kind of stop and expression, and it was really powerful. I think it just felt like this seems like a cultural moment, and this is an artful cultural response to what we're feeling and seeing.
There's moments in time, man, you won't forget. And will you ever see a moment like that again? Hopefully not for a tragedy. That movement was big.
I'm thankful for COVID in the sense that it gave us time. And when George Floyd happened, that was a time when people could sit back, take a minute off to breathe and really think about the bigger picture. Wow, is this the place I'm going to be in history where I didn't show up for people? I didn't care about people. I didn't love people.
We were all at home, and so I think people were pouring out into the streets in a more natural way to respond to a situation. And I think that allowed a cultural shift like few others we've seen so quickly.
It was really inspiring. Having leaders like Julian Taylor step up, our deputy mayor here step up here, Sean Owens step up. People willing to share their equity that they had in the community and make a stand to really make a difference. That was a powerful moment of seeing the value of having the hard conversations and saying the hard things, even when people don't want to hear them. Seeing, Sean use his space and power to do that and stretch and move himself to, push people that had ideas that were racist and, bigoted and challenge them in new ways to see people as people.
In 2018, we, Sisters of St. Joseph, named racism and white privilege as something to pray, study, and learn about. So we just got more and more involved with Sean and his leadership. He's told many painful stories about racism, and yet had the heart and the courage to reach out to white people, and say, can we work on this side by side? And can we do something together? God, I'm going to get emotional. Yeah, he was just amazing, man. He was huge. He was like over 6 feet tall, and just a big man with a big resounding voice and a heart of gold. And he brought us together. He started BECLEC, the Beaver County Law Enforcement and Community Coalition, IDAC, Inclusion, Diversity, and Awareness Council, a Unity Week that is every summer, and it culminates in the Unity Games, where youth from the community and police officers play games together, getting to know one another. And there's the Unity Pledge that hangs at the Beaver County Courthouse that is signed by many, many entities. And that was sort of the culmination of Sean's work around the Black Lives Matter. All these are his initiatives, that still live today and still go on.
At that particular moment, it became an understanding that a man died. Empathy kicked in. Because at some point, a man died, and there's got to be some understanding in that. I don't give a damn. He's black or white. I don't. A former drug dealer stole a bag of chips, or, whatever. But at that moment, at that particular moment, it became natural. It became an understanding that a man died. They just knew they were all stepping into something that maybe I can make a difference. Maybe the I phrase came into their spirit. Maybe they said, I can make a difference. I could do it. And in that momentum that you thought you had, or we thought we had as a people, as a group, as an individual, as a collective, it just went away.
And then all these little fights start popping up all over the place. Mm-hmm. That once was united is now divided. And then it's like, man, what was it all for? And I think like George Floyd coming out of that situation, some people cower in fear, some people run towards it, some people just say, oh, hey, it ain't happening to me, so why should I worry? But I mean, if anybody worth their salt see somebody suffering and don't feel empathy and don't feel concern, is a sad state of affairs.
As I began reflecting, and having been a student of Dr. King, the arc of a moral universe is long and it bends towards justice. But what I was beginning to see, something very different happening in America. What happens when that arc lacks morality? Where does it bend? When you are absent virtue, that arc will bend towards the majority and allows the majority to harm the minority, because the morality in the arc is what protects the minority in a democracy. And the checks in the system, executive, legislative, judicial branches, the checks in the system oftentimes follow that same majority path. So danger zone for America is right now, because the lack of morality in the arc has shifted, not to the majority, that's always been here, but has undermined the very pieces that allow minorities to feel part of America. And I always say it this way, we've reduced ourselves to self-interest. That when self-interest becomes the critical thing in a democracy, it's the easiest thing in the world to erode virtue. Because they'll vote for somebody as long as they appeal to their self-interest. Doesn't matter the virtue. Dangerous. We've got to get back to understanding that virtue has got to be part of our electorate and leadership if we're going to have a nation that knows how to live, work, play, and learn together.
We went from one place, which I don't feel was extreme, but for a lot of people that if you've never been challenged in a new way will feel extreme, to now going back to the exact opposite. You know, in psychology, that's a normal thing that happens, right? When you look at like change or trauma or things like that, when people are like changing, we're like, oh, it's so hard to change. We're asking our brain to relearn and reprocess in different ways. So like, if you get an opportunity to take it out, you're going to, and usually it's the exact opposite of all the hard work that you've done. But now we're on that other side of that pendulum, right? We had the pendulum swing where like, you know what? We're going to show up for each other. We're going to join the groups. There's the churches that have come together and things like that. And, you know, lots of groups come together to try to make a difference and change. And then it's like, oh, we talked about it. So now we have to do the work now. And now we're in the season where the work has to be done and the pendulum has swung. Now it's like, why are we focused on this? Why are we doing this?
I have my days where I feel the anger, and then days where I feel this grief, literally grief, you know, sadness around the state of things, how we treat one another. And then there are days where I feel hopeful and optimistic. There are definitely those two tensions in life where this doesn't seem hopeful, or, you know, ending racism seems like an absolute impossibility. It's been since the dawn of time, it seems, certainly since the founding of our country. Racism has been alive and well, but it's still worth the fight. It's still worth the effort. For my worldview, that's the Christian way. You know, that Christianity is so filled with paradox, you know, give your life to gain it, you know, that kind of thing. There's light in the darkness. So Christianity is kind of paradoxical in that way and is meant to hold those tensions, I think, together. Because justice will come. Justice flows like a river, you know. So the fight for justice is what we are called to do and be as Christians. And we can't, to turn our back on that is to abdicate a huge responsibility. As the saying goes, when the power of love is stronger than the love of power, then we will have justice.
Oh, I mean, I just think, man, a moment in time, that at the moment it was beautiful.
We did it. You know, we did it. You know, people joined in, people marched, they walked, they did it. It was great.
The people who expected leaders to step up that day, they did. The leaders that were expected to step up, they did.
We had those tough conversations. Those conversations I've had with my sons. This is what you have to do to make sure you're safe. But why, Daddy? Those conversations happen every day in our households. But now the world knows that these conversations happen.
It is a different world for people of color in this country. You know, it makes me angry too. It shouldn't be that way. You know, we have our ideals written down, but we've never lived up to them. And so I think each of us need to work to live up to them. I want to have my eyes open on the world. I want to see the world for what it is and see truth and reality and, you know, not be overwhelmed by it, but try to face it and try to lift up love and hope in the face of it.
You know, me, I'm always gonna say this, that I believe Beaver County is the prime place to become the model for the country. I see that. Just hoping people's hearts open up and also are willing to go there, right? It's going to take a little work, but I believe we can become the model.
When I left, I prayed that the next generation of leaders was in that space that day. We face with some dark days ahead even now, you know, and I think that it will call for moments for leaders to step up and be who they are. But that's what you got to see what's coming. Sometimes the red look good as long as it's lit, but when that bend comes, you don't see it. You don't know what's going to come next, what your future might hold, what the future might hold for you or your environment or your people. This is a marathon. 5 years removed, question marks about where we are. You know, how far have we come? And have we come at all? Or you where you want to be at this moment? Or you still where you are back 5 years ago? What has changed for your community? Those are the questions you want to ask. Since the 5 years has happened, what has changed in your life?